So, Keri, if you're ready to go, let's go ahead and dive in with your presentation, and then that may give us a little bit of a short break at the top of the hour before we dive into Ed and Martha's presentation. Are you ready to go?
I absolutely am ready to go. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right.
Yeah, your audio is coming across great, Keri.
Excellent, thank you. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Whoops, wrong screen. Very similar to what Jeff and the DataMark team was talking about. I'm going to be talking about indoor maps as our vendor showcase. So, did I share the right screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I want to talk to you a little bit also about indoor maps and just kind of go through a little bit of an overview of it. I will say this a little bit later on this afternoon. I have a full dedicated session on indoor maps. So this is going to be a bit more of a high-level overview, although I know a lot of you have been on presentations or events where I have spoken in the past, so you know that I'll probably end up going along because I love to talk, and this is really my passion project. So, this morning we have heard so much great content about location and addressing, in particular related to next generation 911. Later on today, we're going to be talking about it in relationship to the bigger enterprise. And having good location information, address information has been a critical and key component of really public safety, location, enterprise. It's really the reason that we are all here today. What I want to talk to you about, though, is the next evolution in location mapping, which is really mapping out indoors. Now, you may say to yourself, well, Keri, we've been mapping indoors for a while. You are absolutely right. If you go to your local mall, you're going to see a map of the mall, perhaps. But really, we're going to be moving not just from a really basic 2D image, but really moving into that dynamic GIS data. Today, we're focusing a lot on 2D images, but as you can see from the second image across here, the second and third are the images in the middle, we're going to be moving into the 3D environment as well. And that's a next phase of Next Gen 911. So just a little bit about GeoComm. We are the largest public safety GIS solutions provider in the United States. 26 plus years of 911 GIS solutions. We're an Esri Platinum partner, an AWS Select Technology partner, and we do 17 statewide Next-Gen 911 GIS projects. And we are the provider of GeoComm indoor maps, which has been around for about 5 years now. We started working on the indoor process quite a while ago. Personally, I have been with the company for about a year, and indoor maps is my baby, if you will. So one of the things that we talk about is public safety location intelligence. And what exactly does that mean? Well, really what it means is when seconds matter in an emergency, we want to save lives and protect property by delivering public safety location intelligence, which is really the right location data on the right map for the right people and at the right time. If you start thinking about that, that's really important, that depending on what type of 911 call is being initiated, depending on what type of location data is needed, the information is going to change with the emergency. So why is it important? Well, I know that you guys have already seen some of these statistics, and you'll see them again when I talk a little bit later on this afternoon, but we have challenges to locating 911 calls indoors. I will say this, addressing, site structure, address points, good road center lines are the hallmark of good spatial call routing. But once you find the building, how do you find where the person is in that building? So today, over 80% of 911 calls originate from cell phones. That's not an unusual statistic. This one is always a little disturbing to me. In a 2019 study by the National Human Activity Patterns Survey, the average citizen spends about 80% of their life indoors. So my first recommendation would be at the end of today, once you have wrapped up with the social hour, make sure you go outside for a little bit. But really what we see is that locating a 911 call inside a building can be a challenge. I know that I'm in a building, but just down the road from me, there is a distribution center for a major retailer being built. It is 3 stories high and a half a mile long on each side of the building. If a 911 call occurs inside that building, am I in the northwest corner, the southeast corner? Don't necessarily know. That's where having good indoor maps is going to be critical. As well, though, help is on the way in terms of device-based hybrid locations using things like the Google ELS or the Apple Hilo applications that can take a 911 call's information and narrow it down from being perhaps the address of a cell tower or a couple of 100 meters to literally plus or minus 2 to 3 meters of location accuracy. There's another component to that we're going to talk about, which is the Z-axis as well. I'm not going to go into that in detail here. That's your teaser to join me later this afternoon. We have improvements to GPS, GIS beacon services, and indoor positioning systems that are making that location information, in particular in urban areas, much better. For those of you that have spent time on any of the NINA work groups, one of the really active ones has always been the CLDXF, which is a Civic Location Data Exchange Format working group. That takes the data down from not just an address point, but you get into sub-address and the elements within. So a building, a floor, a unit, room, seat, you can get all the way down to that level of granularity. Well, all of this information is fantastic. And as GIS people, I think we could all say we're pretty passionate about having a lot of really great data in front of us. Making sure that it's accessible to a telecommunicator in the right format, though, is important. So when it comes to a 911 call, an accurate indoor position without an indoor map is really little more than a blue dot on an otherwise blank whiteboard. So to give you a little bit more of an understanding of this, a 911 call is initiated from where that red circle is. Pretty standard looking call location on a map coming in to a telecommunicator's map. I know that the call is coming from off of Rockport Lane, but I really don't have any context to what is there. By adding in an indoor map, suddenly the impact becomes so much greater. So not only do we have content coming in, so the X, Y location, whether that's from a landline, a device-based hybrid location information coming in, the Z-axis information. But now when I put it in context to an indoor space, I can say the call initiated from room 208. Suddenly I have context for that content that is coming in. And I can see that, you know, just to the west of room 208, there is a major ingress egress area. I've got clearly defined where all of the ingress and egresses are. I don't have it on this particular map, but I would normally have mapped out all of those additional facilities features that are needed from a public safety standpoint. So the location of fire extinguishers and fire alarms, where is the shelter in this building if there is a tornado warning? So where do people need to shelter in place? Where are their gas shutoffs? All of those facilities features that are incredibly powerful. Now, if you talk to a firefighter going into a building, they're probably going to say, yeah, I don't care where the AED is, or I don't care where the fire extinguisher is, because I'm going to carry all of that information or all of that equipment into the building with me. And they will. But if you are a frontline telecommunicator and you're doing something like emergency medical dispatch, you're helping somebody walk through chest compressions, they have somebody beside them, you could say, you know, just around the corner from room 201, there's an AED there. If you can get somebody to grab it, you may want to use it in this situation. So again, it's that right information on the right map for the right purpose. That's that location, public safety location intelligence that we're talking about. Something else that I'm very passionate about is ensuring that this information is continuously updated. Like any GIS data, for all of the GIS professionals that are out here with us today, you are in a constant maintenance mode, and having a static map that gets updated on an annual basis may not be appropriate in this particular case. Because if we use a school as an example, I don't know about your school, but when I was in high school, back in the dark ages, I used to hang out along the senior lockers hallway, and that's what it was called. Well, if I had had a cell phone back then, and I could have called 911 if there was an incident, I probably wouldn't have said, I'm outside of room 212. I would have said, I'm in the seniors corridor. So that type of contextual information that can aid a dispatcher, a telecommunicator, is absolutely critical. As well, just things like teachers' names. So this year, room 208 is Mrs. Smith's room. Next year, Mrs. Smith might be in room 110. Having that continuous updated information in front of the dispatcher is absolutely critical. One of the things that GeoComm has done is we have partnered with RapidSOS to make indoor maps available through our GeoComm Maps portal within the RapidSOS portal. And if you like, what I will do, I'm going rogue here. Just going to pull over. This happens to be the RapidSOS portal platform. I'm just going to go ahead and run this little demo for you. Hopefully everybody can see my screen, but you'll see that a call comes in. Zooming in on the area, this is standard what a telecommunicator would see. In this case, it's the RapidSOS portal, but it could be any CAD or mapping application. The uncertainty factor of this call is 2.5 meters. So we're pretty comfortable saying that that call, based on its device-based hybrid location, is within 2.5 meters of where that call is being plotted out. As I just go ahead and open up the GeoComm Maps portal here, it's going to zoom into the exact same location. And it's going to zoom in. This happens to be St. Cloud, Minnesota, which is where GeoComm is based out of. And here I bring up the actionable GIS data for this particular building. As I zoom in on the area, I can see that the call is being made from inside Ragstock, which happens to be a store in the mall. It's beside Hot Topics. The main entryway into the store is going to be off of this front area. I have clearly marked all of the doors for internal ingress into these buildings. So if you think you've got an active shooter, a SWAT situation, the SWAT team needs to go into this building or into this room, excuse me, through the back entrance, those are clearly marked. As well, I have rooms that are inaccessible, like the maintenance rooms are all clearly color coded in a different use, the food court, restrooms. And then again, we have all of the major entrances clearly marked for accessibility. Now, one of the things that, unfortunately, this mall is a single floored mall, but down here in the lower right-hand corner, we do have a floor picker. So if I zoom out just a little bit, zoom over here, I've got another building relatively close. I'm zoomed out too far. So I've got a high school here, but as I zoom in on it, you'll see that I can display the basement level. It will redraw with the rooms in the basement. There doesn't happen to be a whole lot there, or the second floor. So as a telecommunicator, again, if a caller calls, 911, where's your emergency? I'm on the second floor of Apollo High School. Where are you? Well, I'm in the gym penthouse, or I'm on the catwalk. Actionable information for the telecommunicator. Let me just get back to the presentation here. And I think I'm still doing all right on time, Matt, but what are the benefits of indoor maps? Well, some of the things that Jeff spoke about earlier or all of the things that Jeff spoke about are absolutely true. But really what we're talking about is better situational awareness for responders, location intelligence for complex indoor environments. Anybody that is a Rams or Bengals fan, it knows that there's going to be a lot of people in LA at SoFi Stadium this year, or this next weekend, the weekend of Valentine's Day. There's probably going to be a lot of 911 calls. Somebody might indulge a little too much. A lot of those people are not necessarily going to be from Southern California. How do you locate them inside a large arena like SoFi? Well, that location intelligence, anything that we can help with getting information into the hands of the first responders is going to improve the emergency response times. And that's really why we are here. We're starting out in a 2D environment, but we will be moving into that 3D environment when the time is right. The data is all ready and prepped to go into that 3D environment. It's just a matter of when the technology is available and if it is going to be of benefit for first responders. So this happens to be some of the floor plan resources and what they might look like. An effective floor plan resource. The reason for this is we use a lot of AI and machine learning technology to do the data processing. So typically what we're looking for is good architectural drawings, DWGs, good JPEGs. The plan on the right is what we would consider a little bit less effective. Doors aren't clearly marked and defined. It's a copy of a copy. We all have those copies stuffed in a binder somewhere where the original was printed out and then you scanned it, and the paper got a little wonky in the scanner, so it's no longer nicely squared. That makes it much more challenging to georeference to the Earth's surface and to appropriately tie in place. So that's why we look for better source drawings. We are also, doing a lot with field data collection as well, being able to go out and collect the locations of those facility assets, whether it's a standpipe or the location of a fire extinguisher, AED. And again, AEDs tend to move a lot, so that continuous maintenance is critical. Now, I do want to talk to you just a little bit about a case study that we did with Denko 911. For those of you that are familiar with Texas, Denko 911 is the 911 district that covers 9 communication centers serving 800,000 people in 33 jurisdictions throughout North Texas. So Denton, Texas, Flower Mound, that whole kind of North Texas area, North Dallas area. So late in 2019, they began a project to do indoor map development to address the challenges of locating 911 callers indoors. Really what they were looking to do is expand and extend the emergency communication center's mapping capabilities. So a lot of what you see on the screen are images from there. So the project goal was to implement the indoor mapping program specifically for schools. They looked at the different types of buildings, and in speaking with their first responders, in speaking with their community, community leaders, in light of the fact that there are so many active shooter incidents in schools, they decided that that's where they were going to focus first. So the approach was to provide education on the urgency of indoor mapping, highlight the challenges it addresses for emergency communication centers and schools. They've been working very actively with the local schools to get resources, analyze those floor plans for quality, and then convert the quality floor plans into actionable GIS data in the form of indoor data sets. That is currently being used and has been used since 2019 in their dispatch mapping software. So the outcome is they currently have 86 K through 12 public schools mapped to date. And their next steps are they're going to obtain and develop additional area schools into indoor maps. So they really focused on public schools. Now they're going out and working with the jurisdictions that did not have quality plans to do the proof of concept for data collection of building information without floor plans. They're also looking at developing other key buildings in the area, including government facilities, healthcare facilities, event venues, transportation hubs, locations where people gather. So a lot of hotels as well. And then very happy to say that they are also working with us on our proof of concept for Z-axis and height above ellipsoid. And again, I will talk a little bit more about the Z-axis and height above ellipsoid in my session in a couple of hours. So with that, are there any questions or comments I haven't had the chat dialog box up, so.
Hi, Keri. Nothing coming in so far for you. Oh, I spoke too soon. All the questions, LOL, is the one that just came in. So thanks for that comment.
Jim, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And again, if you want to join my session later today, I'll make sure I won't talk quite as much and give more time for Q&A. But my contact information is up here as well.